Alright, folks, on today's episode, we are still talking about Ralph and Millie's favorite band, Kiss. And that is because we are now getting into part 2 of our Music from the Elder album review and breakdown. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Kiss Army Things podcast, episode 118.
Do we want to call out what that reference is even from? Because I don't think we even explained it last time, in case there are people that don't get it.
Yeah, we didn't, but there was somebody in the comments who got it.
Okay,
so go ahead. Yeah, do you know? It's from the Fridays
As
appearance.
I say, I didn't know what show it was from specifically.
Yeah, so when Kiss made an appearance on Fridays in 81, one of the only appearances they made in support of the Elder, they had this really cringy skit, like most live late night shows do. But they had this lady sitting in between this old couple who were talking about how much they love going to see Kiss.
Yeah, their favorite.
Hitching rides and, crashing with people at their hotels. And I'd rather see Kiss than AC/DC or REO Speedwagon any day of the week or whatever it was. And it was like, oh my gosh. So
it was so obviously scripted. Millie did a pretty good job.
Millie was believable. Good for you, Millie. But Ralph
not
blew
so much.
it.
No, he was just deadpan reading from the teleprompter.
She may have had some theater acting experience, but no, he worked in the coal mines or he worked in a factory, just dead personality. Anyway, thank you everybody for joining us here on this episode talking about Music from the Elder. We love doing album reviews and album breakdowns, but this one has especially been a lot of fun. So basically what we decided to do was, rather than getting bogged down with talking about the response that the Elder got and how it was panned critically, and the fact that there was no tour in support of the album, and all the different things that seemed to come up in conversations surrounding the Elder, we thought, let's not talk about that and let's just give the album, the music, and the songs its own episode. That'll be part 1. Part 2, which is today, that's when we'll get into more of the semantics on the album itself, some of the backstory, and then also, most importantly, we're going to be looking at your guys' comments from last episode.
Yes,
we're going to be reading them on the show. Yes, talking all about your guys' comments. So to anybody who watches the show, really appreciate it. I'm just happy to be back behind the table with my wife, talking with all the Kiss fans. Back with a fresh, ice-cold Moneybag soda.
Yeah, you got a bunch of them in the mail recently.
I did. I had to re-up because I was almost out. What you sipping on?
Well, it's cold here, so I needed tea. I've got some chai tea, but I'm also repping my Kiss Army Nation podcast mug.
Absolutely.
Because I did want to shout them out because Pasquale and Claudio just recently had me as a guest on their show. And it was awesome. I had such a great time. So if you want to check that out, head over to their channel. They have a ton of other awesome videos as well, and fan interviews and things like that.
Yeah, I would say they're one of the most fan-oriented shows out there.
They're the best. Yeah, so unique, so cool.
Pretty much every episode is another Kiss fan from another part of the world, and so it's a lot of fun. Yeah, you were on there. I think I'm going to be back on next month, maybe. I don't know. We haven't really figured out the details yet, but hopefully I get to be back on. And then I was also over on Super Kiss 1400 with Tim, talking about some of the more current events and just talking about Kiss in general. So yeah, we've been pretty busy.
Yes, we have.
But today is Music from the Elder Part 2, and so we are going to get to a spotlight this week. We've mentioned this many times on the show before, but now that we listened to Music from the Elder, we decided to listen to, again, Ancient Door. A tribute to Music from the Elder, which was a fan tribute album that was done back in 2021, 2022, right around there, by Kiss fan Christopher Boryars. And so we listened to this in the car in full, right?
Yeah,
pretty much like the
day
day after our initial review of the album. And this is one of those projects that, obviously it's super well done, but you can tell that it's just full of pure Kiss fan passion. We mentioned the really cool album cover.
Oh, it's awesome.
Kind of giving you a little bit more of a scene.
Ship through the stormy seas right there on the cover.
Yeah, absolutely. The original album cover is cool. It's not the most Kiss album cover, but it does kind of make you wonder, like, what's this about? What's this door? What's behind the door? Whose hand is on the door? So yeah, you do get some cool visuals there, but what was done here was just a step in the right direction, and it was a level up. You know what I didn't notice on the inside is that you can actually, if you look real closely, you can see a boy and an elder. Could be, the boy from the story and Morpheus or one of the elders who's taken a mortal form, like we read, So, I don't know, it was just really cool. And, of course, there's the candle, which you get the candle from the gatefold. But, yeah, so just really cool, super well done. Musically, it is very impressive.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's funny because one of the things that we talked about when we were doing our Elder review last week was how we wish Fanfare was bigger, more majestic, and like exciting, epic, that kind of thing. They really did that with this.
Absolutely.
That is the one I would probably say is the most different. Mm-hmm. The rest of them, you know, they are different, but still pretty faithful to the original idea. Whereas Fanfare sounds, I mean, it still has a lot of the similar melodies, but it's got, like, some big, like, epic movie instrumentals. I love it.
It's very grandiose, very cinematic.
Yeah.
So, it feels more, like you mentioned, an overture. This feels more like an overture.
Yes.
As opposed to this, like, little dry piece that really doesn't, you know...
Right, just a little flute. Like,
the flute, man. I don't know. But anyway, so this was really cool. And then one thing we also talked about was the track listing.
Yes, that is different.
And how this is mostly in the intended order, except for Odyssey, which appears about, 2/3 of the way down before...
Second to last. Yeah, it literally goes Escape from the Island, Odyssey, I.
Wow.
So we were kind of talking about what that might mean, because I thought that was strange that they would kind of deviate from the intended track list, which is the intended order of the story. And so we were kind of saying, like, maybe instead of the Odyssey being his journey to, you know, becoming this hero, maybe the Odyssey is his journey back from the island.
Maybe he's reflecting on the journey and the whole experience.
Maybe, and how much, you know, he still has to do, potentially.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a very interesting choice.
I thought it was interesting, too, because when I thought about it and listened to the original track listing, I'm pretty sure Odyssey is actually also towards the bottom. It's not quite towards the bottom. I think it's actually 2/3 of the way right before the Oath.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where I was thinking maybe this one was, but this one's actually even a little lower.
Yeah, it's like almost at the end.
I don't know. Again, there is really no... maybe it was because it's a cover. They wanted to put the cover towards the bottom and let the whole thing be Kiss. I don't know. Still really, really cool.
Yeah.
If you have not heard this album, Ancient Door, there's a video on YouTube you can listen to where it's a sample video of some of the tracks. But I would try and track this down. I'm not really sure where you can get it. Ours was a gift.
I'm sure you can.
From Pasquale, which is kind of funny because we mentioned the Kiss Army Nation podcast.
True.
This was a gift.
I'm sure if you look it up, there's a way to purchase it online. Somewhere.
I'm sure, absolutely. And, you know, I'm kind of looking at it right now because it's sitting on the table half open. And one thing, we've mentioned this on the show many times in the past. I mean, we've mentioned this at least 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah, it's been our spotlight a bunch
over the last 2 or 3 years. So, one thing we've never actually talked about was the inside of this. Okay. We read the inside of Kiss's, The Elder.
Oh,
but we've never read the inside of this one. And I was glancing at it before the show, and I thought, I want to stop and save it for the show because it's one of those really cool Kiss fan testimonies.
Okay.
That I love, that we all, you know, love so much. So here we go. So this is Christopher himself, the creator of the album. It says, I was just a boy when my class took a school trip to Oslo. This is Norway. After hours and hours of museums and parks, we finally got some free time. I strolled into a record store hoping to find a Kiss album or two. I flipped through the Kiss section, but realized I had every single one until, there it was, The Ancient Door in the hand. The next day I got my first chance to listen to it. From the heavy riffs of The Oath to the mighty voices of Under the Rose, it blew me away. Like a fine wine, music from the Elder only gets better with time.
Yes.
I wanted to be a part of it, unlock its mysteries. Nothing can beat the original, but this is my version, my journey. The Odyssey begins.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That's amazing.
How we've never mentioned that on the show.
I
don't know, but that is so awesome. So yeah, that's his story. It says Christopher Boyard, he's the lead, backing vocals, bass, electric guitars. He plays 12-string guitars, mandolin, keyboards, and the drum programming. Jolene Fredrickson was the drummer on tracks 2 and 9, plays a percussion bass on tracks 6 and 10, plays some classical guitar and backing vocals. So yeah, it's really just 2 people. I mean, the cover art was done by Tabor with photos by Pezabar and Christopher Boyard. So yeah, I mean, it's a very, very, you know, small project that was done to the biggest extent.
Yeah,
it was
gonna
awesome.
say, you would never guess listening to it that it's done by such a small group of people, or not even group, a duo of people.
Yeah.
But it sounds so good. It's so well produced.
It really is.
It's great.
Yeah. So that's going to be our Kiss Spotlight for the week, just to kind of get the ball rolling here on part 2 of our Elder episode. So we wanted to get into more of the history of the album and talk about the repercussions of the album and just, of course, fan reception. But speaking of, reading, I know we're doing a lot of reading, but I kind of realized that when I was listening to the CD for the remaster, I forgot that they have a really nice piece of history underneath.
Okay.
About each of the albums.
Okay.
And so I kind of want to read a little bit about how the Elder started, kind of the backstory, because I feel like we all have a pretty decent understanding of history, but when you get to go in the weeds, in the trenches, and get a little bit more minutia, it only just kind of helps you understand things more. But we tend to talk about how, I guess Gene and Paul talk about how this was a misguided album and how, it was kind of their fault. I don't think the fault lies with them. I personally think the fault lies with Bob Ezrin more than anything. Okay. More than anybody. And so I want you to read this and tell me what you guys think. But this is what comes from the inside of the Kiss remastered CD, underneath the CD. Here's just a little excerpt real quick from what we have. It says, after Kiss had finished its record-breaking Aussie 80-81 tour promoting Unmasked, the band returned to the United States to begin working on its next album. With several songs in preliminary stages, Gene Simmons, Eric Carr, Paul Stanley, and Ace Frehley entered Ace's custom-made recording studio built underneath his home to cut demos. While in Europe, the band had promised the media that their next record would be the heaviest album they had ever done. Whoops. With songs like Nowhere to Run and Partners in Crime, Kiss had every intention of keeping their pledge. The band's objective was to create another album with the power and passion of 1976's Destroyer, considered their most successful studio album. In hopes of recreating Destroyer's formula, Kiss enlisted producer Bob Ezrin to oversee production responsibilities. Okay, sounds pretty good, pretty normal. Once Ezrin was hired, he immediately discarded the demos that Kiss had recorded. He suggested the band experiment with a concept album, a musical fable that would transcend the boundaries of the average rock and roll album. Though most of the band was receptive to the idea, Frehley was adamant about Kiss returning to their heavy rock and roll roots. Unfortunately, he was outvoted 2-1 by Simmons and Stanley. Carr was not an original member and therefore had no voting power within the band's decision-making process, who decided to continue under Ezrin's direction. Simmons devised the story of the Elder with Stanley, Ezrin, and other contributors, including Lou Reed and Tony Powers, created a musical masterpiece. With songs like Odyssey and Under the Rose, the album tells the story of a young boy's destiny to become a warrior battling evil that was threatening to destroy the universe. So let's kind of get to the meat of things here. So in early October, press kits and advanced copies of The Elder were made available to Polygram Records, who had absorbed Casablanca Records some months earlier, and radio stations. Reactions were mostly negative and unsupportive. Listeners didn't know what to make of the new Kiss sound. More concerning was Kiss's new look. Short hair and sleek, medieval-styled outfits projected a misguided image to the record-buying public. Before the album was released, the track sequence was changed in most countries to emphasize The Oath and A World Without Heroes as potential singles. Despite this, The Elder did not sell, and to this day is the only Kiss album that has not earned gold status. I don't think Sonic Boom and Monster have either in the modern sense. So, but at the time, it was The Elder. Yeah. The Elder was the only one that had not earned gold status. The band decided not to tour for the record and only promoted it through television and radio. Kiss's performance on Fridays, a short-run variety show, was the only time the band performed material from The Elder live. Until, of course, the Kiss Cruises, there was some medleys in like 04 and things like that. But yeah, they really just did not even touch it. Yeah. And with The Elder's low sales and negative feedback, it became evident that Kiss was suffering repercussions from musical experimentation represented by their last 3 albums. Longtime fans expressed their disappointment by not purchasing The Elder, and now the band had no choice but to listen to what the fans wanted. Drastic measures were needed to begin healing the wound that had been opened several years before. And although Kiss would survive, it would not be without further misfortune. So that actually was written by Robert V. Conti, who folks might know as a Kiss consultant, and he was responsible for the remaster projects, and maybe even, I think, was the one who initiated what would become You Wanted the Best, You Got the Best. So very knowledgeable man. We respect his views, his opinions, and all of that. So, but there's a little bit of an insight into how the Elder got going. So Kiss wanted to do a heavy album.
Yeah.
And they got Ezrin involved because they thought that he would be the guy. You helped us once before.
Right, and the album was
help
huge.
us again.
Yeah.
And he says, no, don't do that. Do a concept album. I just did The Wall.
Right.
I think Gene mentions Tommy from The Who, which was a concept album. And so it's like, let's do our version of that. And it quickly just spirals out of control. Ace kind of the whole time is thinking, no, we need to stick to our, our rock and roll, our original rock and roll direction. And, rightfully so. I think Ace was actually correct. Gene and Paul, though, have a history, for better or for worse, have a history of following the producer's vision and following what the producer says. Which some people could say is, in and of itself misguided, naive. Personally, I think Kiss is just respecting the position. When Ezrin came in for Destroyer the first time, they basically let Ezrin bully them.
Yeah.
Like he would use a whistle. He would call them campers. He would have them, a Ted Hut. He would have them like lined up and Gene and Paul would just play right along.
Yeah.
Ace and Peter, they were like, what the f is this guy doing? They were too cool for school, so they weren't doing any of that. But Gene and Paul wanted to learn.
Yeah.
They were like, take us to boot camp.
Well, and obviously it worked that time.
It
so
did.
You can see why they would trust him again and why they would think that he knows best, especially off the heels of these other huge albums that he's done, concept albums in particular.
Right.
I can see why they would be like,
now,
okay,
Gene and Paul,
that's not a bad idea. Let's try it.
Now, Gene and Paul are not without fault, and they are not, perfect. I mean, it's at this point, it is their band and Ace's band, so they should have listened to their gut, listened to their lead guitar player.
Yeah.
Maybe should have even. I mean, I know Eric Carr wasn't an original member.
Yeah, but they should have given him a vote.
But they literally just told him, hey, we're gonna have a meeting, so go outside and close the door.
I hate that.
And then Gene, Paul, and Ace talk, and Ace says no, and they say, okay, well, we think yes, and so we're gonna do that, and it's outvoted 2-1. So that obviously explains why Ace wasn't really invested in this album, which makes perfect sense. But I think Gene and Paul should have taken the initiative and said, well, maybe we should do a heavier album, or if we do a concept album, maybe it shouldn't have flutes.
Or open with flutes at least.
They should have been a little bit more,
yes,
more involved in, stepping up, as opposed to just blindly trusting Ezrin.
Yeah, or even even having some sort of compromise in the middle, because I think this album could have been that. It could have been a concept album and a heavy album at the same time.
Yes, I think that, again, I think we mentioned this in the last episode, and it goes without saying that there is nothing that would have made The Elder a smash hit. Okay, Kiss fans did not want the concept album.
Yeah.
Kiss fans did not want this. This was strike 3.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You had Dynasty, Unmasked, and now this. So this was strike 3. So
yeah, especially with that timing specifically.
Yeah. And plus you don't have streaming, so you can't just preview the albums.
Right.
You have to buy the album and hope it doesn't suck.
Right.
Or you borrow a friend's copy, or you hear the singles in the radio, or see a promotional video and get a sense that way. But let's face it, World Without Heroes video, that's not making folks rush to the stores and buy it. It's just not. And their performance on Fridays wasn't really all that exciting.
No, I feel like their marketing for this album was terrible. And the look, the aesthetics of the album could have been so cool. I love the album cover, and I love the little bit of imagery we get in the album artwork. But, like most people, I hate that Kiss is not represented image-wise on the album anywhere.
Right.
And then it seems like their costumes for that era, even though it was short-lived, seem so disjointed from the album. They don't... I don't understand the look. I know. I honestly, that Friday's performance, I can't take them seriously because they're in those tiny little pointy high heel boots.
Yeah.
That which is fine. It could work in certain outfits, but when you have the makeup and you're used to them in these big, clunky, scary looking boots, it does not translate.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
And something that we maybe kind of touched on last week, but I think is relevant here, image-wise, is how cool would it have been if, instead of whatever those outfits were that don't fit the album at all to me, what if they had gone more with the Elder, like, having big hoods, like, big cloaks, and, like, actually being members of
I thought about that.
The Council of the Elders.
I thought about that, and the only thing I could think of that they wouldn't do that is because it reminded them too much, or would have reminded them too much of Kiss Meets the Phantom. Ooh. Which was just a few years earlier.
Yeah, because that's kind of what I'm imagining.
Because they were in the robes,
yeah,
and by the pool.
Yes,
and
but those are so cool. I always
they
love
were
those.
cool, but that just may have been too fresh in their mind.
I get it.
I think you're right. I think if Kiss was going to take this idea of, the elders and this ancient council of beings who are now trying to help fulfill some prophecy by enlisting a warrior.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, why not you guys become the elders?
Right. It'd be so cool.
Because you already are these weird looking
otherworldly
humanoids that are from that are otherworldly. Why not use that to embody the demon, the Star Child, the Fox, and the Spaceman? We are the elders. We are the council. See, they could have. Again, it still would have been cheesy. It still would have been confusing for some fans. It still would have been not received well. But 40 years later, we'd be like, this album was even more goated. You know what I mean? We'd be talking even better about it, because I think when Kiss commits, it works every time.
Right.
But as soon as they start slacking even a little bit, it all falls apart.
And they so obviously did not commit to this.
And even though Gene and Paul are at fault here, they gave Ezrin the responsibility to oversee production and to oversee everything. And I think he let them down. Fanfare was not Gene's fault. It was not Paul's fault. I think Fanfare was Ezrin's fault. 100%. I think the overall muddier sound of the album, this production-wise compared to Destroyer, sounds nothing like it. Yeah. And that's, I think, that falls on Ezrin's shoulders. Now, we could also say that there was a budget issue.
Right.
Kiss wasn't selling the albums that they were used to selling. The tours weren't selling out as well as they used to, with Destroyer just coming off of Kiss Alive, having saved the record company. Now we're back on top. Let's just go spend money. You get an album like Destroyer. So that, I understand, is not possible here, but I still can't help but want to, not disrespectfully, but respectfully and honestly put more blame on Ezrin than I do Gene and Paul. Because Gene and Paul have taken the blame over the years and said it was us who we were misguided. We were fat, bloated rock stars, and we were, had no sense of direction. And while some of that is true, I can see why they wouldn't be like, yeah, that was all Ezrin, and just throw Ezrin under the bus every single time. I get that.
Yeah, and I don't think they need to do that, but at the same time, I don't know, they're very extreme with the way they distance themselves from this album.
It's crazy how they can't even... I'm sorry, something's playing here. Okay, sorry about that. Something was playing here. But I wanted to bring up this interview that Gene did a couple months ago, actually. So it's pretty new, where he made some comments about The Elder. And the opening line is, Gene Simmons has taken responsibility for Kiss's worst album. Okay, this is from ultimateguitar.com, and it was an interview with Classic Rock. And Gene was asked about so Simmons was asked which record he considered to be his best work. The musician noted that Kiss was never about making incredible albums, but rather focusing on giving people a good show. In hindsight, this is a quote, in hindsight, Kiss never really spent enough time in the studio. Destroyer is okay, and I like Revenge, but Kiss was always about the live experience. Naturally, Simmons was asked about the worst record he ever made. The musician had a ready choice in mind, naming a Kiss album released in '81, Music from the Elder. Simmons elaborated, claiming responsibility for the album's creation. I take the blame for it because it was my idea. I remember telling Bob Ezrin that I was writing a movie script. We were making a concept album based on that, and he said, let's do our own Tommy. I said, yeah, if The Who can do it, why can't we? Well, the straight answer is because we're not The Who. Simmons continued, noting that even though there are fans who enjoy the album, he finds it horrid. There are some fans who love that record. To me, it was dishonest. But really, the most dishonest record we ever made was Carnival of Souls, when we were trying to follow a trend instead of just being ourselves. So there you go. So Gene is still taking credit for, which we know it was his idea and all that.
Yeah, but even he said when he elaborated that, like, to me what it sounds like is he had
Bob Ezrin's gassing it the whole time.
Right. He had this separate idea for, it sounds like, a solo or side project that he's working on.
Maybe.
A movie script and, an album to go with it. And it sounds like he brought it up, just in conversation, and Bob's like, We're doing that.
Let's force those two together.
Exactly. And so it's like, I think it's unfair to take 100% of the blame there.
Yeah, well, and I think it's unfair for a lot of people to trash the album as they have, but yeah. I mean, that's why I wanted to do this episode. That's why I wanted to get, some of the fans' reactions and fans' opinions, because, there's a lot going on here that led to, it's not just like A, B, and C. I mean, A goes to Q, Q goes to F, F goes to Y, and then you're left asking why.
It's just a mess. I just will never understand, like, why they can't give a little bit of grace to this album.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
why they have to be so adamantly, like, it is trash. Like, can you not say, yes, it was misguided, it was the wrong choice at the time, but there are some good songs on that album, and, we have fans that really love that album, which we appreciate. How hard is that to say? I feel like it makes Kiss fans feel stupid for liking it.
It does.
I hate that attitude.
It does make us feel stupid sometimes. It's like, well, what's wrong with us?
Yeah,
I mean?
Yeah. It was
but
my ear that
I also think that because after 50 years, Kiss, they know there are fans that are going to love them no matter what they do.
Yeah.
They could say we could shit on a record and they would buy the record and say it's gold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they're not even worried about. They're looking for the actual critical. They're looking at the critical opinion, the non-Kiss fans, especially today in a day and age of social media. They're thinking that everybody hates it already, so I might as well just own up to it. They just, I feel like, own up to it and have put it in as part of their script.
Yeah.
Whenever the elder gets brought up,
they say the same thing every time.
Yeah, whenever it gets brought up, this is my A answer, this is my B answer, and this is my C answer, and that is what it is.
And I'm gonna remind them that I also hate Carnival of Souls while I'm at it.
Yes, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's always a 1-2 there. But again, that's why we're doing this episode. And so, do you have? Actually, first, before you bring up some of the comments from our last episode, I wanted to mention this too, because I couldn't find where this was, but I know that you and I were together when this happened, so I couldn't find the other interview, but there was, I'm pretty sure, another time earlier this year when Gene, possibly Paul, was talking about The Elder.
Yeah, I do remember
They were also trashing it and brought Carnival of Souls right along with it. But Gene was talking about some of his influences behind The Elder, and he mentioned The Watcher from Marvel. Now, I'm familiar with the Marvel movies and Marvel characters, and, I'd be a fool to say I know anything about the comics and all that. So I did a little deep dive on The Watcher, and we even watched a little video before this, and for some reason I felt like that really just helped kind of paint another picture and help you kind of get more immersed and invested into the story.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know too much about the Watcher still, but I guess the Watcher and the Watchers are an ancient, all-powerful being of aliens that oversee the multiverse. Except they just oversee. They're
not supposed to interfere.
They're not supposed to interfere, and I think their first ever appearance in a Marvel comic was them breaking that oath by interfering. But you take that and look at the Elders and the Council of the Order of the Rose or whatever that Kiss is introducing on the Elder album, and it's like, okay, I can see that. Gene is once again drawing from his love of sci-fi, from Marvel, from comic books. Same with his, kind of his character, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's his love of horror movies and his love of sci-fi and comic books that fuels Gene's imagination. And so you can see that leaking into the Elder here. And I like that because I never heard that until earlier this year. And I feel like maybe if other fans had known that or heard that too, that would kind of help, give them an idea of the album. You last time we mentioned a bunch of our favorite movies and TV shows.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it was The Last Airbender, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and all that. And so it really kind of, once you look at it from that perspective, you can kind of fill in the gaps that is left by this album.
I have a question. Has there ever been an Elder comic book?
No.
That's crazy to me. How cool would that be?
Pophouse.
Like, make
Pophouse.
that happen. That'd be so awesome. I feel like it would translate super well.
Oh my gosh. Pophouse could do some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't they, whenever the Avatar show was announced, and, you know, after December 2nd and all this stuff, Kiss fans were just going wild on social media. Didn't they post on YouTube, like a YouTube short that said, if this video gets over X amount of likes, we will introduce the Elder into the Avatar show.
Yes.
And I think they were just gassing us, and they were definitely
joke,
just poking fun. But I was like, like, share, comment, and you know, get that out there into
I
the
remember
ethos.
that.
But no, seriously though, Pophouse could do some really cool stuff. They've already talked about how they want to do, you know, they want to bring Kiss into the realm of TV and movies, series, books, comic books.
Yeah.
They should do that. They should really give us the Elder that we deserve.
The Elder would be a really good comic book. I also think it would be a really good, like, animated show. Like, you know
animated
what I mean?
Show? Yeah.
Like, not a movie, and I feel like live action would not get it right, and it'd be cheesy.
I want to see a live action movie.
So do I, but I don't think it would ever be done right, so I don't even want to touch it. But I feel like, kind of, I know we've already mentioned Avatar, but like Avatar The Last Airbender kind of style show that is, you know, taken a little bit more seriously. It's not like a, you know, little kid cartoony kind of show, but...
No, I get what you're saying.
Like a serious adventure, you know, lots of lessons learned along the way kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool.
Gosh, see, now that opens up so many doors. Now, whether it'll happen or not, I don't know. I doubt it, but...
It's cool to think about,
It is really cool to think about. And if Pophouse is watching, like, please put that on the idea list.
Yeah.
Because we still, I feel like, have not... Even after this episode, we could do a part 3, and we still wouldn't get
talk about it forever.
the full Elder. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get to the comments now on YouTube, because we're already a half hour in. We haven't even gotten to some of the comments yet. But I wanted to look at every single one of the comments.
All of them? Okay.
That our fans left, all the Kiss fans left, because I think they're all worth talking about in some way, shape, or form.
Awesome. I'll just start from the first one to the newest.
Let's go. I'm going to go ahead and get on the YouTube as well, but go ahead and start.
Sounds good. So our first comment was from Tony Ekman. He said, "Oh yes, this analysis will be crucial. I've loved The Elder ever since I received it on Christmas of 1981 when I was only 12 years of age. The diversity is absolutely spectacular. From undeniably heavy, The Oath, to pompously inane yet beautiful, Odyssey, mysteriously cinematic, Under the Rose." I love these describing words he's using. It's great.
Yes.
And rebellion personified. That's great. It's a complete journey of musical emotions. My only complaint to this very day is that there was no pictures of Kiss anywhere on the gatefold. That's what I mentioned earlier. It sucks that we had no cool imagery of them as, you know, the council or something like that.
Yes. No, Tony, you nailed it, man, because you're absolutely right. I think that if there had been more image... You know, maybe not on the front. The front cover is, I think, cool enough as it is.
I like
it. But on the back cover.
Yes.
If you had something that had Kiss, maybe if Kiss were sitting... Okay, here we go. Let's use imagination. If our direction time. Kiss is sitting in an elevated platform, and all you see are their silhouettes.
Yeah.
So you don't see them, their faces, their makeup, just their silhouettes, but you know it's them because you're a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
And then in front of this, you know, whatever it is, this elevated platform is the boy on his hands and knees.
Yeah.
He's taking the oath, and they're in some sort of temple, some sort of environment that gets our imagination, you know, fueled. So, missed opportunity. Again, lack of budget, lack of commitment, whatever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the back isn't even cool. The back is literally just more of the door. That's all it is.
Which we already have the door.
Door texture. We already
have the door. But no, so getting this on Christmas of 81.
Yeah, that's awesome. As a 12-year-old.
Dude, Christmas must be awesome for you every year, because like if that were me, if I were Tony, man, this time of year would be all Elder.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's so true.
Because I mean, think about it, like cold weather.
Yeah.
Warm house, pajamas, fireplace.
Yeah.
The Elder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
so
good.
That's a whole vibe right there.
It is.
So that must be really sweet. And yes, obviously the undeniably heavy, The Oath, the pompously inane, Odyssey. Yeah, this album has all of it.
Yep.
Has beautiful diversity. Yeah, it's a complete journey of musical... Yeah, he said it best. He said it better than I ever could. So Perfect comment. Thank you, Tony, for I know you're a regular viewer, a regular commenter, and it's always nice to see you commenting, so thank you.
Yep. You want me to read the next one?
Read the next one. Yep.
This next one is from... I'm not sure how to say that.
Are you going from Phil?
That's not Phil.
Nope. Fido Xavier? I don't know.
Fido Xavier.
There's definitely Xavier in there.
Maybe.
Xavier's in there.
Xavier, yes. So they say, I was a big fan of progressive rock growing up, but I also liked Kiss for their straight-ahead rock music. They were undeniable fun. And actually, Gene's songs were so melodic. I'm talking about You Unmasked, yes. And Paul's songs were so diverse and always catchy. Ace was deeper than I thought. However, when I got The Elder, I was in hog heaven. It was everything that Kiss was trying for. Sophisticated. As time has shown, it was not what the audience wanted. However, for me, it was the perfect height of everything I loved about music. Of course, a couple of years later, Creatures of the Night would bring us back into a different sort of sophisticated Kiss when they expanded their rock sound into true metal. Love this album.
That is awesome.
That is great.
I like how he's a fan of both prog rock and just straight ahead rock music.
Yeah.
And was able to find kind of the happy middle with
I can see
album.
why you would love The Elder so much for that reason.
Bingo. Yeah, and that's why I'm reading these comments, because these are the comments and the views that you do not hear.
Yeah.
And so, Xavier, I don't think I've read a comment from you before, so it's really nice to see you in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and if you are so inclined, please leave more comments throughout this episode and in the future, because it's nice to see some of these kids. I love hearing about Kiss fans' different perspectives. I'm going to go ahead and read Thomas Hubner.
Okay.
Thomas Hubner says, what a great album this is, and I know for sure it's my favorite Kiss album, because I was reading the Raise Your Glasses book, and I ranked all 261 Kiss songs in a Spotify playlist. The first ranked song got 261 points, and the last one got 1 point. And surprisingly, The Elder has the best average of all Kiss albums.
Wow.
The funny thing is when The Elder came out, a chocolate bar here in Germany had Rock Band stickers, and one of them was Kiss wearing The Elder costumes.
Cool.
So my original album as a kid had a band photo in the doorknob. The photo shoots for the album are fantastic. Gene with the axe bass in the hand looks so mystic and dark. The pink back of the photos, wow, great photo. The guest appearance at the Kiss Army Nation podcast last week was also great. So, of course, referencing your appearance on Pasquale and Claudio's show. But so two things stand out. Well, three things. First of all, it's his favorite Kiss album because he ranked them all based on.
That is cool.
You know, after reading the Raise Your Glasses book, which is totally dope.
It's cool to be inspired by that, totally and also to like rank the songs individually and then see like
where they all fall. Yeah. And The Elder came out number 1.
That's crazy.
I wonder, like, maybe all Kiss fans should do something like this because I feel like if we all did this, we would probably learn a lot about ourselves that we did.
Yeah,
that we never
I feel
did.
like your favorite album is probably not what you think it is.
That would be, yeah, just based on the actual songs alone. So
yeah, that's cool.
That's really cool. And then number 2, the German chocolate bar.
Yeah, with the sticker. How cool is that?
I've never heard of this. I've never seen this. Thomas, I really wish, I'd hope that you still have that because that could be one of the...
rare.
That could be one of the rarest... I don't know if it's Kiss merchandise, but pieces. I mean, definitely Elder items.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never heard that. German chocolate bar with Rock Band stickers. One of them was Kiss wearing
the Elder costumes.
Wearing the Elder costumes.
That's so specific.
And it says that it's not like he put that album on the doorknob. So that he cut it out or just kind of tore it out, whatever, and then put it on the doorknob on his original album. I hope you still have that. That is one of the coolest things I'm going to read all day unless somebody else comes in with something hot. But again, that's why we read these comments because that is sweet. Do you want to go ahead and read Dan's?
Yes, I'll read Dan's next. It says, I was in the 2nd grade when this came out. I got it for Christmas that year. Well, lots of people got it. I mean, it came out in November, so it makes sense that you get it.
Yeah, that's cool. It
makes sense. I believe the original song lineup is the same one as the 97 remaster.
Oh, okay.
That album went out of print throughout the 80s. The re-release came out in the early 90s with the song lineup starting with The Oath. I remember getting that when I was a kid and first put it on and was baffled because of Fanfare and Odyssey.
Wow, interesting. Okay. So he's saying that the album that he had originally was the intended track list is what he's saying, right?
I think.
I believe the original song. So cool. So his album originally had the intended track
correct.
list. Cool. Very cool. Awesome. That's awesome. Another Christmas album. I love that. Because you're right, it was in November.
That's like a common thing for everybody.
So for everybody, it could have been that got it that year. It would be a Christmas album. That's so cool. what a perfect Christmas album too.
Yeah.
It's very, it's not heavy. It's very light and joyous.
Yeah.
Not joyous, at least not until the end.
Right, but also...
there's a good story there.
Well, something about the fantasy vibe of it, too, is cozy to me. Because I think about, this time of year, and especially in the winter when it's cold, that's the time that you want to sit down and watch, Lord of the Rings, or, read Harry Potter,
movies.
or things. But, those, especially that escapism into these fantasy worlds, I feel like that's the time of year that you especially want to do that. So it makes sense. I like that.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and read Rick's real quick.
Yes. Always love comments from Rick.
Yes, thank you, Rick. So it's all from, if you're not subscribed to him, you should
need to be. I'm not kidding when I say every Friday night. Every single Friday night, we sit down and watch Rick's videos.
What's tonight?
It's Friday night.
So that means when you get home tonight,
absolutely,
we're going to be right back here watching Rick's videos.
It's like a comfort thing at this point. I love it.
Absolutely. No, for real. And he says, all caps, music from the Elder has always been a living room floor record.
Yes.
I bought the CD probably around my sophomore year in high school, and to this day, have never just played it for enjoyment. E.g., I want to hear Mr. Blackwell today. This is a record... I need the right mood and time.
Fair.
Being a heartfelt seasonal boy, every Kiss album has a season. Fall, for me, moves from the D2K, Dress to Kill, solo albums, Phantom, to The Elder. Smash is in there for good measure, LOL. So once the leaves change and that chill's in the air, the Halloween fun of Phantom is gone. It's Elder time. And it requires the sitting on the living room floor in front of my stereo, staring at the jacket and gatefold, full attention, immersed in the story. That's the way to do it right there. Great review. Looking forward to part 2. Just thinking about what the tour they might have been like delights and makes me cringe in a good way. Yeah, so if they had the budget to do a full-on tour, I mean, the Destroyer tour had all this and that and the Dynasty tour had all these different bells and whistles, and so I feel like the Elder tour
could be so
would have been a whole stage. It would have been a castle.
I was gonna say,
if there was a tank on Creatures, it would have been a castle for Eric Carr's kit. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm thinking castles. I'm thinking mountains. I'm thinking dragons. Come on.
They could have had sound effects.
Yes.
Woo! You know what? There should have. Gene, why did you not introduce a dragon character?
It makes sense.
There should have been a dragon character. Dragon. Yes, there should have been a dragon that assists the boy.
Yeah.
And the dragon has been around. Companion. The dragon's been around since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
And it's maybe in opposition to the Council of the Elders, even though they all have the same goal. I'm thinking Skyrim again, because that's Parthenox.
Well,
I might be thinking Skyrim again, because there's a dragon in there. But again, that could have been
also, a lot of these stories, like we mentioned, do have very similar plots. But yeah, I think if Pophouse, if you guys are going to make that animated show.
One comment from Rick just got us all wild. Got us all riled up. I love it. Because, that tour would have been sick.
It would have been very
cool.
Dope. Yeah.
All right, I'll read Ken's too as well.
Okay.
So Ken Vance says, great show, guys. I believe I was like the masses, where it was just too different for Kiss at the time of its release. But the more I listened to it and as time passed, it actually grew on me, and I grew to fully enjoy it. P.S. Came across this, and it's about Kiss in Indiana. Thought you might like it.
Have you clicked on this?
No. Oh, this is a 19-minute video. Okay, so I'll have to check this out later.
Yes, but very cool, though.
Very cool. Okay, yeah, interesting. I did not see that. I'm going to have to check it out later. Thank you, Ken, for sending me that, because Ken must know that I like
yes, you mentioned
Kiss.
Well, you mentioned all the Kiss Indiana stuff.
I mentioned it, but he listened.
Yes,
and so that
thanks, Ken.
I appreciate that, Ken. Thank you so much, man.
And I also love that you said that it grew on you over time, because I understand the reaction at the time, like why it would be so off-putting at the
100%.
time. But I love that you've given it a chance to kind of let it grow on you more over time.
I'm going to give you Daddy Depression. You can read Daddy Depression.
Daddy Depression. All right.
You can read Daddy Depression.
I love this entire record. Not a fan of I, though. Too cheesy, even for Kiss. Such love for this album.
He loves the entire record, but I is just, so Just the Boy is good.
I love that. I love that I is the most cheesy. I mean, it is kind of corny.
It really is, and the balls to stand alone. So I can totally see that.
Yeah, and yeah,
that's the cheesiest. Okay, for sure.
I get it though, because it also is the most kind of removed from the rest of the album too.
I'm glad he likes it though. That's awesome.
I understand.
Or he, she, they. I don't know. I'm glad they like it. Anyway, there's another one.
Do you want me to read Greg's as well?
Well, there's another one from Daddy Depression.
Oh, you're right. There are two. You guys are so pleasant to listen to. Great commentary. I'm loving this video 15 minutes in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope you're watching for part 2 because you're a part of it now.
Yes, exactly.
So thank you. I hope you're not depressed anymore. No, sir, I'm sorry if you are depressed, though. That's not funny. I shouldn't joke about that. But anyway, thank you for watching and thank you for commenting. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad you like the show. We do try to be more positive, more upbeat, and just, I think I said before, I want to make sure that whenever everybody who watches the show, I want to make sure that you're happier and you love Kiss more afterwards than you did when you started.
That's so true.
So if you're, feeling pretty good about Kiss, you're gonna really like it when you're done with this episode. But maybe you're feeling a little down and had a bad week. This will be the thing to pick you back up.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's my goal at least. So yeah, I'm gonna get to. Oh, there's a few more from Daddy Depression, but we'll get to those later. I'm going to get to Greg, because Greg is one of our patrons. And so, Greg, thank you for your support over on Patreon and YouTube. I'm going to read your comment right now. He says, I love The Elder, especially with how little Ace really had to do with it. Is Greg not the biggest Ace fan? I'm not sure. Greg, let us know. But he says, the album has so many different musical elements mixed into it, but it's based on the main story, if you listen to it very carefully. You have to throw out Ace's only contributions, Dark Light, and Escape from the Island. So it seems like, maybe Greg is not as, impressed with Ace's involvement with the album's contributions, but he likes the album. He loves it. Of course, the different musical directions, which, that I think is one of the most redeeming factors about The Elder. That maybe there are some albums that have a very consistent tone all the way through, which is great. Rock and Roll Over, we love them. Good, yeah. We love them because they're consistent. But some other Kiss albums are great because they do have some peaks and valleys and some different
and it's still done in a cohesive, dynamic kind of way. It's not disjointed necessarily. It's just diverse. Yeah. But it's interesting that he said you have to throw out Ace's only contributions, Dark Light, and Escape from the Island. Because I like both of those songs, but I feel like you could argue that they could both be taken out and nothing would really be changed in the story. Like, I feel like nothing really important happens in either of those songs storyline wise, so
I would disagree.
Really?
I would disagree because Dark Light is talking about what's about to happen.
Yeah, but we already know that's gonna happen, and then we have like the more explained version of it in Mr. Blackwell.
Yeah, I think you need both though. I think you need
I think it helps, but I don't think it's necessary.
Perhaps not.
I do like the song though. I mentioned last time that I used to not like it very much, and it has grown on me a lot.
I think the album where it stands, the story is already so vague that taking more away from it is just going to hinder even more.
That's fair.
So I would definitely keep Dark Light and Escape. Escape from the Island, at least you can. It's a cool name, first of all, but you can also kind of like paint your own picture with it because there is no lyrics.
Yeah, but the song title helps you at least get there. Yeah, and kind of kickstart your.
But I understand if it's not everybody's cup of tea. Again, obviously, Greg isn't as impressed with it, which is totally fine. I get it. Now, Daddy's Depression did leave some more comments. I don't know if they had an issue with their comments getting deleted because they commented again.
Yeah, some of them are the same.
So, one of the best A solos ever on Dark Light. I Still Love You is definitely Sad Kiss. Agreed. Yeah. Talked about Sad Kiss last time and how it's it's necessary and it does serve a purpose in some way, even though we usually listen to Kiss for happiness. I'm sure I was a single, but not 100% though. I thought I was a single too, but I don't know. I guess I could look it up.
Well, wasn't there a music video? Didn't we watch the music video?
Oh, there was a second single for it. It was a single. Why in the last episode did I say that World Without Heroes was the only single?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure why, but you are correct.
I don't think I knew this, but in between last week's video and this one, I think is when you showed me the music video.
For I.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it makes sense that it was a single.
Yeah, who was it a minute ago that was saying that I was too cheesy? If you thought the song was cheesy, you should watch the music video. It's even cheesier. But no, so Daddy's Depression is right. I was a single.
Yep.
It was released. It was released actually on the 17th, so in a couple days.
Okay, nice.
What's today?
Today is the 15th.
On the day it goes up.
Yeah, there you go.
It'll be the anniversary of the release since
That's
as a single. The 4th anniversary. So thank you for giving us some Kiss knowledge there. You're absolutely right. I don't know how I missed that, but yes, absolutely. I was a single.
Do you want me to read this one from Yale?
Yale? Yep, go ahead.
They said, I was waiting for this one. Thank you. We were too. We were really excited for this one. They said, on my Kiss journey this year, I would like to hear more about your Kiss journey.
I will tell you.
This album fell on my birthday week, and my initial reaction was, well, I guess I understand why people hate it. 3 stars. Then, as the year went on, I was liking it more and gave it 4 stars. It wasn't until September when I decided to give it a re-listen because I was itching to hear it and ended up adoring it. I gave it 5 stars and it is in my top 10 favorites of the band's catalog. Wow, amazing review, guys. Can't wait for part 2. That is so cool.
Here you go. Here we are, part 2.
And I feel like that perfectly sums up this album. Most people, if they give it a chance enough times.
Most music needs a re-listen. You can't just like everything the first time.
And honestly, like, I mean, some things that you love on first listen are great. But I'll be honest, sometimes things that are great on first listen kind of, like, die out in excitement for you pretty quickly over time. Whereas something that you really need to listen to multiple times to really grasp and understand, those are the songs or the albums that I feel like have the most replay value over time because you're always going to get more out of it. And that's what The Elder is.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, so Yale, if I'm saying your name wrong, sorry, but if I'm wrong, please correct me because I'm pretty sure this person commented earlier on one of my videos this year and was talking about how they're kind of new to Kiss.
Okay.
And have decided to listen to, one album per week, one album per month, one album per whatever it is.
Okay.
And listen to it that way, and
just focus on that album for a couple weeks or something.
Journey. Yeah, it's like give each album its kind of due or whatever.
That's cool. I like that.
And immerse themselves in it that way, and then go back and re-listen to it. So again, I could be wrong. It could be a different person, but I'm pretty sure.
I do recall that comment.
And that's what I'm pretty sure who this person is. So I'm
glad
awesome to see that they're still watching our show and still getting something out of it. And so that's really, really cool that The Elder falls on their birthday week. Or at least it did on their Kiss journey.
Right.
So perhaps this will be like a Kiss birthday album now.
Yeah.
Where it's like that's their kind of their thing. But I'll read one from Vegas Raiders Peter says, what?
Pete. I don't know.
Pete? Oh, Pete. Yeah, you're right. Oh, there's an F. I saw the R, or the F is an R. You're right. So Vegas Raiders Pete. Few good songs would. Dark Light and one other are good, but the rest is disjointed and bad in my opinion. Fair enough. Fair enough.
They did clarify in another comment that Only You
is decent. Only You is definitely decent.
Yeah,
at base level,
I would argue it's more than decent.
But hey, even though the album, I mean, yes, we can all still agree that it is rather disjointed.
Yeah, I understand.
And compared to some Kiss, again, this is not what Kiss wanted, but I'm glad that there's at least a few good songs that they can find from the album. Dark Light, and Only You. So at least there's a couple redeeming factors in the album. So even on an album that you don't like, you can still find some good tracks. But yeah, so thank you, Vegas Raiders, Pete. And I'll read as well Colin's real quick. I have one from Colin. Hi guys, The Elder does have some gems. Such a shame about the cover art. It's why I wasn't interested in it at the time. Obviously, I and The Oath are standouts. Best wishes to you both. From an Australian fan since 1976.
That's awesome.
That's super dope. First of all, Australian fans since 76. I'm glad that you're watching our show from the U.S. in 2024. That's one cool thing about the internet is that it just brings us all together.
Absolutely.
And so I love being able to reach out and hear from Kiss fans. But yeah, no, I can see why going into the store, looking at this album cover being like, I think Hot in the Shade is another one where you're like, this album cover is cool, I guess, but is it Kiss?
Right.
And the answer to that is probably no. So I can see where, seeing this album cover would maybe not deter you from, other than just the small Kiss logo in the corner.
I was going to say, you might not even, if you're flipping through albums, you might not even notice that it's Kiss if you don't stop and read it, because it's not obvious. So I understand that. I do. I think I've grown to really appreciate the album cover over time, but I definitely get it. Okay, so I'm going to read one from, let's see, I'm so bad with these usernames, I'm sorry guys, Zephyrsson? I'm going to go with Zephyrsson.
Cool.
Wicked episode. I haven't listened to The Elder in a long time. After watching this, I feel like I haven't really heard it before. I've pulled it out and will be playing it all week. New subscriber. You two are fun to listen to. Kiss fans with serious passion. Thank you.
Shout out to you. Okay,
that's awesome.
For sure. That's really cool. They had heard the album before, but now they feel like they have heard it in a different way, in a new light.
They're like, I feel like I've never, grasped it before. That's awesome.
And I feel like sometimes when we do these albums too, it's almost the same way.
That happens to me every time.
I've been a Kiss fan my whole life since I was 3.
Yeah.
I'm almost 30 and I'm just now understanding. I'm just now hearing this. It's like, I love that. You'll never know everything.
Right.
I'll never know everything.
And that's why music is so good, because there is always more to get and more to hear that you've never heard before.
But I'm glad that we could provide something for you.
Yeah. And thanks for subscribing.
Thank you for subscribing. I hope that you're here again watching on part 2, because here you are again, a part of the show. So thank you guys. And we have a recurring viewer now from Mike Murphy here. He says, I remember getting this album as a kid. I'm not sure if I was aware that a new Kiss album was coming or if I just stumbled upon it. But I remember being confused by the title. Music From had me thinking that I missed a movie or something. I got major FOMO, fear of missing out, and had to quickly find out what was going on, LOL. The other thing I remember is being disappointed in the packaging. Yeah. Up until that point, Kiss had included posters, and here we go. Kiss had included posters and other items in the packaging. This was just a plastic inner sleeve, no lyrics, no poster, no pic of the band. As for the music, I reacted like a lot of others at the time. What the hell? But I didn't hate it, and it grew on me to the point where today, it's one of my favorite Kiss albums. The story's pretty generic and simplistic, not to mention half-baked, but there's enough of a thread there to make it interesting. I wish they would release an anniversary deluxe edition that includes all the spoken dialogue.
Yes.
Favorites for me are Under the Rose, Dark Light, The Oath, I. Although even as a kid, Gene singing Don't Need to Get Wasted always took me out of the story.
Yeah.
It seemed like a modern thing, Just Say No, and didn't fit the time period of the story. Plus, it always felt cheesy to me. Thanks for turning rock and roll into an after-school special, Gene.
Yeah.
Like you wanted to take a jab at Ace or push his agenda on something. Thanks for the great video. Looking forward to part 2. I mean, that has a lot in that comment.
Yeah, there's a lot to touch on there.
So, I absolutely agree 100% about the packaging.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you look at Love Gun with the paper gun, and you look at the solo albums with the posters, and, I mean, obviously, Kiss makes good music, but they also released cool albums and packaging to go along with it, which made Kiss... and still makes Kiss one of the best bands ever. It's not just the music, it's what you do with it.
It's the experience.
And how you add to it. And this is one more example where Kiss dropped the ball.
Yeah. It's almost like they were ashamed of this album before it even came out.
Yeah.
They just already didn't care.
Again, the album cover is cool and mysterious.
Yeah.
We get some really cool imagery with the album gatefold, with the table.
Yeah.
But how cool would it be if they were sitting at that table?
It's all taken.
How cool would it be if we had some more? Somebody else a minute ago in a comment was talking about some of the photos from that photo shoot. They should have had some of those photos in the album. A lyric sheet is imperative.
Yeah.
The fact that there was no lyric sheet to help you, listen to the album and read.
Yeah.
That would have helped immensely right then and there without having visuals.
Yeah, because and lyrical analysis is necessary to fathoming this album. It is
100%.
More than any other Kiss album, probably.
100%.
Because it is so important. It's a story.
It's not just sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or sex and rock and roll.
Yeah, it's a linear story, and so to have those words to be able to read, I feel like would immerse you into that world so much better.
And the fact that they didn't even do that is just is terrible.
And also what he said about there needs to be an anniversary deluxe edition that includes the spoken dialogue. I want that so bad.
Oh yeah.
I want to know if someone has that somewhere. Do we think they did more than
They did.
just...
They did. They hired an actor for the boy.
Really?
I should have had his name ready at the ready here, so my bad. But yeah, they hired an actor for the boy to play him, and he had done, I think, at least 2 or 3 spoken word. And
all they kept was the last one with Morpheus and...
Yeah.
And last time we mentioned that, but when we talked about I don't think we ever talked about the actual dialogue.
No, we didn't.
What he says there. What actually is said in that spoken word?
Oh, I'm going to get some of it wrong, but basically, the council brings in Morpheus. You hear footsteps, the door open, door closed, you hear footsteps, and then the council, a deep voice says, Morpheus, you have been summoned here to offer your judgment of the boy. Do you deem him worthy of the fellowship?
Yes.
And Morpheus responds, oh, I do, my lord. I think you're going to like this one. He has he has that look in his eye. Or he has
look of a champion or something. A spark in his eye. The look of a champion.
The spark in his eye and the look of a champion.
Yeah.
A real champion. And that's not until the end.
Yeah.
That should have been halfway through the album.
You're right.
Because we know that now.
Right. He's already been through training and
he's already
defeated Mr. Blackwell.
That should have been before the oath.
You're right.
That should have been before I. You know what I mean? And then they could have had some other conclusive sort of bit there at the end.
Yeah.
That gives us some kind of closure, not leaves us in more confusion.
I was going to say, because having it at the end almost implies that Mr. Blackwell was not, even though he was an antagonist, maybe was not the only or not the biggest threat. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there is something bigger.
Oh, maybe Blackwell is just a figurehead upon.
Yeah, or maybe just
Darth Vader, there's a Sidious behind the scenes.
Maybe that was one of many that he has to... I don't know. Maybe that was improving himself. I don't know.
I definitely think, going along with what Mike is saying, there could have been, Gene, I'm pretty sure, has some drawings.
Yeah?
That he had, doodled and drawn out and sketched. So they could have had, maybe not, if not the original album. Yes, I think even one of our patrons, Rex Cat, was talking about how there needs to be, and all the more reason for there to be, a anniversary box set. One of those deluxe box sets they did for Destroyer and for Creatures of the Night. Because then they could include all the lyrics. They can include all of Gene's sketches and drawings. Mm-hmm. There should be a map of this world. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like show us...
Like there is in the front of every, fantasy novel. Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be so cool.
Like you have the Lord of the Rings with Riverdale or Rivendell, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's a Riverdale. That's funny. But yeah, all the different places in Lord of the Rings, they have a map. Show us Escape from the Island. What island?
Right.
Blackwell's Island or whoever's island. Show us the island. Show us the journey that the boy took
the Odyssey
via a dotted path.
Yeah.
Where's the the rocky waters and the all the different places in the world. Gene could do that in one day.
Absolutely.
With his mind.
Yeah.
Get 1 ounce of coke for Ezra and he could do it in a night. You know what I mean? It's that's easy going. The fact that they didn't go...
No, they did not commit hard
They didn't
enough.
go kiss with this.
Yeah.
You didn't kissify it.
Yeah.
You just did the Tommy and the wall.
Yeah.
Where is the kiss layer to this? That would have made it better. So I think Mike is onto something here, talking about, an Anniversary Deluxe Edition. I think Rex mentioned it too. So yeah, let's do it.
Also, I kind of agree with you as well. I didn't really think about it, but... with Gene's line in I about don't need to get wasted, it only holds me down.
Yeah.
I've always kind of cringed at that line a little bit too, because even though, that's his truth and that's great and that's awesome, it does kind of take you out of, it does feel very, it's just Gene talking and doesn't really feel like it has anything to do with the boy or the elder at all.
So, can I try and force a square peg into a round hole? Because that's my thing. I'm
make it work.
I'm going to make it make sense.
Yeah.
So, now, I'm not making this make sense in the moment. This is actually how I've felt for a long time.
Okay.
I always felt even though, yes, it does seem very out of context for the story, but yet on brand for Gene, I've always felt that this was the boy saying it.
Okay.
Again, the boy is saying, I believe in me. This is the boy's testimony.
Him. Yeah.
And even though you can't apply this outside of this story into a kiss context, into a personal context, I felt like the boy himself is saying, I'm clean, I'm whole, I'm pure, I'm enough. I don't need that stuff because that's exactly what brought Blackwell down. Okay. We'll drink to sorrow, we'll drink to waste, we'll drink a toast to the inhuman race. Okay. And what happened?
Yeah. They got ambushed.
They got ambushed, and they were drunk. And I'm pretty sure...
Okay. I like that.
And didn't a similar thing happen? We've heard... Yeah, I'm not going to get into it. But, so there you go. That's been my interpretation was, the boy himself is saying he doesn't need anything to alter his mind or, inhibit his strength or whatever. Right. Because he is enough and he is whole. Okay. And he is pure.
I like that.
And it's part of his oath to remain pure.
Yeah.
Again, more religious context there.
Right.
But that's just me, again, forcing
a square peg into a round hole. I like that because that makes it make sense.
It still does feel very after-school special. That's what I was going to say. Just say no.
Yeah.
Very dare program.
Yeah.
But that's just Gene. I'm going to kind of speed up a little bit because we're over an hour in already.
I knew this would happen.
But we have...
this is why we split it into 2 episodes.
Exactly.
Because our album review one alone was, what, like an hour and a half?
Hour and 40 almost, yeah. So we have Fido Flint, who says, just for context, I was 10 years old when The Elder was released. I'd seen Kiss on a Destroyer tour 2 years prior, so it's safe to say that my fantasticism for the band was at its peak when suddenly we moved into the middle of nowhere, Missouri. And my awareness of the band pretty much evaporated until '83 when they were unmasked and I moved back to Michigan. These were my dark ages. I didn't buy the album until '84. So the only thing I knew of The Elder before that was 16 Magazine's article on Kiss's new look. But I was always a weird kid who liked being weird, and I liked when my favorite bands took the proverbial left turn at Albuquerque. I like Yes, ELP, and King Crimson. So my favorite band goes prog? Cool.
Okay.
I joined the Kiss Army in '76. So I totally understand the viewpoint of fans who can't stand The Elder because I grew up with them. Some of those same people thought Destroyer was too out there. Me, I love it out there. Mm-hmm. Music from The Elder rules. Most days I like it more than Destroyer, and that was the first album I bought with my own money. Anyway, I'm rambling. Just wanted to tell you guys how much I enjoyed this episode and about one of my favorite redheaded stepkids. Keep up the good work.
That's awesome.
So again, another reason why to do this episode, because you guys you got Fido Flint, who's like, hello. Even though I wasn't like up to date on everything, when my favorite band goes crazy, I'm right there with them going crazy too.
Yeah, and
I get that. I'm the same way.
I agree. I love when artists do something completely out of left field, something completely unexpected for them. Yeah. I think that's great.
It can be really cool, really rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
So Fido, I totally agree with you, and thank you so much for rambling. Thank you so much for telling us your story, because I feel like it makes me love the album, love the band more too.
Yes, hearing these
when
stories.
I hear others' band.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I love this more than I love Destroyer.
Me too. I was going to say,
down.
as soon as you said that, I was like, me too.
But yeah, I agree with that, and there's no shame there at all. So thank you, and also you're welcome.
Yeah. I do think we accidentally skipped...
did we skip somebody?
Bill Phelps.
Oh,
yes,
no, we can't skip... I'm sorry. Bill's thinking, what the hell, guys?
I know. I was waiting for you to finish because I was like, hold on.
I'm so sorry, Bill.
We can't let Bill go.
We'll never skip Bill because Bill's a regular, so go ahead.
Absolutely. He says, great episode. I love this record. I have since it came out. I remember kind of dropping them with Disco Dynasty and never really got past the opening song and not liking the pop Unmasked. But I was a big Rush fan as well, and Elder was great. I gave up on them with... Look
It Up.
Look It Up. Okay, sometimes the acronyms don't translate to me. With Look It Up too, but that's another story. Really enjoyed the deep analysis. Bob Ezrin had produced Lou Reed's 1973 Berlin record, so that may have been a connection. That's good to know.
Very cool.
We were curious
how
the Lou Reed thing came in.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure, but I thought there was supposed to be a follow-up album to continue the story if this was successful. And I always looked at this record as the growth of the boy into a fighter and introducing the villains. The next record would have had the battles.
Oh.
The song shows that he's ready, and the ending dialogue confirms this, but that didn't happen. That is why people complain that it's a weak story, but it's only Act 1. Anyway, glad to see and hear so much love for the record. It's one of my favorites. That is a very interesting perspective. That's very interesting if that's true, that there was supposed to be a part 2. I mean, we were kind of trying to explain it away a minute ago, like why that dialogue is at the end, acting like he hasn't even started his journey yet.
That was brilliant.
I feel like that recontextualizes everything.
That changes everything. You're absolutely right. Because we were even saying how it feels like there were missing songs.
Yeah.
We missed the battle, right?
Right.
We missed all this stuff. And so, yeah.
Maybe there... Yeah, and we kind of like made up where the battle goes, but maybe it hasn't happened yet. We don't know that it has. Escape from the Island has no words in it.
No, you're right. Again, I'm just kind of doing what I can with what I have.
Absolutely. But we're just trying to finish the story, but this makes sense.
But it would make a lot of sense if there was going to be a movie or a part 2. And, I definitely think it should have been a double album.
Yeah.
I think there should have been a double album where instead of breaking it up into 2, you just put it all in one, where disc 1 is what we have, and then disc 2 is what Bill is saying.
Definitely.
So I think, I totally agree with that. Wow. Glad we didn't skip that one. Thank you.
Same.
Sorry, Bill, but thank you, man, for reading that. I'm going to get to Javier, because Javier is another friend of ours. He's a regular viewer and listener of the show. So He says, another great episode. I think that the titles of the new songs on Killers fit perfectly in the storyline of The Elder. If those 4 songs had just a couple lyrics changed, but musically stayed the same, the story would make more sense once you add those 4 new songs to the track listing. As an example, here's my track listing. So we mentioned already that in that CD that Kiss brought in demos for Nowhere to Run, Partners in Crime, and that was rejected by Ezrin. So here is the track listing that Javier is proposing here. So number 1, Fanfare. Number 2, Only You. Just a Boy. World Without Heroes. Under the Rose. The Oath. Odyssey. Dark Light. Nowhere to Run. Down on Your Knees. Partners in Crime. Blackwell. I. Escape from the Island. I'm a Legend Tonight.
Whoa.
And Finale. So I can definitely see Nowhere to Run, Partners in Crime, and I'm a Legend Tonight. I'm not sure where Down on Your Knees would come into play, because it's Down on Your Knees, this is Love in the Third Degree, or Love in the First Degree.
He did say change a few lyrics, so maybe that's the one.
But this makes 100% sense.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, you could literally add, I guess Nowhere to Run makes perfect sense. Nowhere to Run, Nowhere to Hide.
Yeah.
You have to face this head
It's your
on.
destiny.
I'm a Legend Tonight goes on with I.
Right.
You know, this feeling of confidence and readiness.
And it's at the end, which makes sense.
Assuredness. Totally fits in with the theme there. So, gosh, you Kiss fans are killing it today. I love it. Thank you.
That is great.
We had one more from Fido Flynn, who says, Xander, I forgot to mention this in my original comment, but I highly recommend that you and Daphne wait to record part 2 of Elder Discussion until you've both had a chance to read Tim McFay and Julian Gill's excellent book Odyssey. Sure, it's 542 pages that goes deep into the weeds, but it does an absolutely amazing job at answering many of the questions you ponder about this controversial album and how it came to be. Rock on, friends.
Wow.
So
we might need to check that out.
I've heard about this book. I know how legendary it is.
Okay.
It is absolutely everything he's saying and more. It goes. Julian Gill has written many, many books. He's the host of the Kiss FAQ podcast. He's done so many incredible books in the past. I've read none of them because it's just there's so much out there that it's hard to do that. But I'm very well aware of this book and what it is and what it does. And so he's absolutely right. We should read this at some point. Obviously, we couldn't read it in time for this. 500 pages would be way too long to do a part 2, but it definitely
it's something
deserves.
we'll definitely keep in mind. Though.
It definitely deserves
cool.
to be written. So thank you for reiterating that. And anybody out there who has not read that book, read it. Let me know how it is, because at some point I need to get a copy and read it for myself. Because he's right. It's absolutely incredible resource, and the research they did for that book is incredible. Just absolutely immense. You want to go ahead and read EB? We're getting to down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, we're almost done here. So EB says, this album, albeit dubbed by nasty critics back in the day as a flop, and Kiss fans were dropping like flies, apparently never gave music from The Elder a good listen. Much less probably never heard a single Kiss album prior to their scathing criticism. Agreed.
Let them have it.
I agree 100%.
Let them have it.
I first heard The Elder on CD, and it was many years for me before I could track down a copy. I liked it. I could understand why the original diehard Kiss fans didn't approve it much when it debuted, because Kiss to them was rock and roll. By the time Dynasty was released in 1979, it took the superhero rock band diverting from their original rock sound into a course of uncharted territory as rock disco. For years, I wanted the LP of The Elder, but never found a copy. When eBay was launched in the mid-90s, sellers were asking a lot for this album. Partly due to it being late drummer Eric Carr's first studio recording for him with the band as their then new drummer. I had 2 8-tracks of The Elder in the early 2000s. That's cool. One was used, the other remained factory sealed. My late fiance had bid on them and won them for me as a gift. That's awesome.
Wow.
I sold both in 2013 and regretted it later since my late fiance isn't here anymore.
Oh.
I'm so sorry to hear that. At the time, though, I needed the money to pay off my college tuition payments. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Fair enough.
The Elder sounds awesome on 8-track. I'd love to hear that. The sound is more distinct, more dramatic, as opposed to the CD version that's compressed. I enjoyed this review of The Elder. Fans nowadays will never experience the trials and tribulations we earlier generation Kiss fans went through to find these flopped albums pre-internet days. I know I'm still searching high and low for a good used copy of The Elder on LP. Remastered and reissued LPs of today probably won't garner my interest much, since I'm a stickler for the old school stuff. Fair. From my understanding, The Elder was a coming-of-age type of rock and roll odyssey story of sorts. However, Eric Carr was quoted as saying it was a rock opera. We've kind of called it that before, too.
Mm-hmm.
I still have that article in one of my magazines. The Magic and Might of Kiss, Metal Madness 1990. Wow, so much info. That's
fantastic
awesome.
comment. So the thing here is I love talking. They said when eBay launched in the 90s, this was an album that was like hard to find.
Yeah, it was rare. People were asking a lot for it.
Yeah, pricey because it was Eric Carr's first album. And it was hard to find because it was a flop.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a...
Isn't it funny how that works?
Well, I have a fascination with... And next episode, just teaser, stay tuned next episode because I'm having a fellow Kiss collector on to talk about Kiss collecting. And one of the things I love talking about is the nuances of Kiss collecting and how prices vary and items and things will vary. Mm-hmm. And so hearing this is mind-blowing because... I was only born in the 90s, so what the hell do I know? You know what I mean? So I love hearing about that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, back in the day, this was not only pre-internet days hard to find, but even when the album first came out, it was such a flop that you couldn't, once it was pulled from the shelves, it wasn't like you could just go to a store and buy it again. There was limited shelf space. Why would they put an album that doesn't sell on the shelf when it's time for the next new release that is going to sell? Yeah. So finding a copy of The Elder is like finding a needle in a haystack. And I've really considered that before. Yeah. So really cool. I'm trying to think where Jeb or myself got our copy for the first time. Because back then it was either Walmart, Kiss Expos, Kiss Museum, or just, wherever we could find. I mean, it's literally wherever you could find it. Yeah. So I'm not even sure where we found our copy of The Elder. But I know the copy of The Elder that, I'm not sure if we still have it. I don't think we still have it. Maybe Jeb does. It was a German pressing. Oh, yes. And I found it at one of our local record spots back in the day, so that was really cool. But anyway, love hearing that. We need to get a copy of Elder on 8-track, apparently.
Yeah, apparently.
Apparently, 8-track is the way to go.
An 8-track player, though.
Yeah.
I don't have one, do you?
No, I don't.
Think so. I have some 8-tracks, but
I think Jeb had one in the past. We got one. And it was broken, tried to fix it, didn't work out, and we weren't going to just test it by putting one in there and letting it eat it up. No.
So, we should try and look for one. That'd be cool.
Maybe 2025, that'll be one of our goals, is to get an 8-track player. Because I have Destroyer that's used out of the package, but I have a sealed, factory-sealed Love Gun.
I see it.
8-track, so it's right there. So our last comment right here comes from Larry Fleetwood. Says, I have this crazy theory, and it's pretty crazy. In the future, a very distant future, this will be regarded as the best Kiss album in its intended song order. Seriously, how do they lyrically go from these gems to crap like Bang Bang You, Let's Put the X in Sex, All Night, or Burn Bitch Burn? I love the album, always did, bought it when it first came out at 15, been a fan since the late 70s, with always an open mind and varied taste in music. So when bands would branch out and try something different, I was for it. Good music was good music. If I liked it, it was good, you know. Unmasked, I love too, especially a pop album that's maybe a bit uneven stylistically, but with 3 different personalities, Ace, Gene, and Paul, that's what you get. To be perfectly honest, I think Destroyer is very overrated. It's an odd mix of styles that I never truly think works. Most of the songs aren't that good to begin with. The opening track being brilliant, of course, and the crown jewel, but something like Shout Out Loud doesn't have the punch it does live. I think Ezrin suited Alice Cooper's type of rock better than Kiss's more simplistic garage approach. Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun are better and focused albums. Even Dressed to Kill kicks the butt of Destroyer. Anyway, back to The Elder. The original LP I got was not a gatefold. It was a single sleeve, so the design seemed underwhelming to me at the time, and the absence of band photos felt odd. I believe we get Paul's hand, although unconfirmed. I absolutely loved the band's brief Elder look. It was new and fresh. I never saw anything wrong with it. Like always, it made for some great posters. It's almost a bit insulting that they didn't let Eric sing Under the Rose, since it's basically his song. I used to think that was him. He was a good songwriter, like he later showed on Bryan Adams' Don't Leave Me Lonely. Some interesting info on Wikipedia about that song. Normally, I'm no fan of remixes, but this album I'd like to hear opened up sonically to escape Ezrin's typical shoebox-sounding production. Yeah. Had it not flopped, there had been a fantastic tour, I'm sure. But alas, that's reserved for that other dimension, another universe. Which today is, of course, that dimension and that universe where we get to talk about what would have been like. And again, that tour that live show would have been so cool.
Could have been so cool.
So cool. But I'm interested to see what happens in the future if this will be regarded as Kiss's best album.
It's an interesting
idea. I think that we talked about how, you know, we're sort of seeing a change in the mold and the status quo as Kiss goes on. You know, we're hearing how much people love this album and how much, you know, musically diverse is, how much we love it. And again, like, that's only going to keep happening.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll be considered as Kiss's best album, but I don't think it's going to be. I think the idea that this is Kiss's worst album will die with Gene and Paul.
Yes, agreed.
I think it will die. That narrative will die with Gene and Paul.
That is a perfect way to put it. I agree. I don't, like you said, I don't know if it'll be regarded as the best, but I do think that it's going to rise the ranks of what people perceive as the best.
There will always be the reviews and the critiques. Like, you can always go back and look at, you know, magazines and articles and things that have been cataloged and, you know, archived, right? And that stuff still exists too. But that's just going to be laughed at. You know what I mean? Like, remember that one critic that said that Kiss, what was it? You know, I hope the 4 guys in Kiss have put away enough money for the future because no one's going to know who Kiss is.
Yeah. It's like... And
then we're looking back at that, we're like, that guy is an idiot. You know? That's what we're looking back at those, and like someone said, you know, they never heard a Kiss album in their life before they wrote that. You know what I mean? So it's just some nobody writing fancy words on a piece of paper. You know what I mean? What matters is the fans, is the people.
Well, and what's interesting to me is that, like, even though it does have this reputation of being the most hated Kiss album, maybe not every, but almost every single comment we just read, which took this entire episode pretty much, almost every single one of them were positive. There was like 1 or 2 here and there that said it wasn't their favorite, but most of them were incredibly positive.
There were really hardly any negative comments, and even the critiques were appropriate. The album cover needed to be more Kiss. There should have been more Kiss. Another album, another version. You know what I mean? All that stuff makes perfect sense. But yeah, like, clearly there's a love for this album.
Lots of people love this album.
That exists. Now, there was one comment that we didn't read, and I don't know what happened to it. If the person deleted it, or if YouTube has been deleting. I had so many people ask me, like, why is my comment deleted? I promise that unless you are saying some out there stuff, I'm not banning you and blocking you. Okay? Unless you are saying some disrespectful things, I'm not just out here blocking people.
Right.
So YouTube, I don't know why, maybe that's what happened with Daddy Depression.
Yeah, maybe.
They kept commenting 3 or 4 times because for them it kept getting deleted.
Yeah, different people have said that.
One of the first comments that we had on our episode was somebody, and it was really cool because I'm going to get it totally wrong, but I'm going to do whatever I can. But like, somebody was talking about how this idea of there being a boy hero or some, you know, chosen one hero fulfilling some prophecy is a well-known trope.
Yeah.
And it was called, you know, the whatever.
Yeah.
And it was studied by George Lucas. And when he was writing Star Wars, when he was coming up with Luke's story, he had studied the work of, you know, insert person here because they were really well versed in this sort of, you know, biblical, religious, Greek, you know, whatever mythological, you know, story of there being a prophetic hero or a savior or whatever it was. And again, I'm totally butchering this, but it was really cool because it was talking about how, George Lucas studied that for Star Wars and how Kiss was diving into that with the Elder.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I wanted to mention that because it was really cool, really informative, but it's not here anymore. So I don't know.
I do remember reading that, but I looked too.
I don't know if they, for whatever reason, you know, removed it themselves, or if YouTube is just glitching out or what, because there was absolutely no reason for that comment to have been reported, banned, blocked, or anything. So why it's not here, I don't know, but I wanted to mention that because, again, just one more really cool aspect about the Elder. You guys, this has been incredible. We're an hour and a half in, and I felt like we could keep going.
As I said, I feel like there's more stuff we could say, but
much fun because, again, we're talking about Kiss, but we're just so far beyond just a rock band that I love it. You know what I mean? That's what Kiss allows us to do, is use our imagination, to use our creativity. You don't really get this with a lot of other bands. And I mean, there are some bands who are good at storytelling and kind of immersing in this world, but with Kiss, man, it's always so much more fun. And now that we're getting to the end, of course, I always do a Collector's Corner. Do you have any final thoughts on The Elder as we're wrapping up? I don't know. I don't want to just like boom, boom, boom.
No, you're okay. It's been a long episode. I've really loved breaking this up into 2 episodes because I think it was really important to talk about the album first, and then give context. But I just want to say thank you guys for all these amazing comments that started so many good conversations.
For real.
And this is random, but something I noticed was like a theme in like 3 or 4, maybe 5 different comments was people saying that people that love this album saying that they were prog rock fans before, and then hearing one of their favorite bands do a more progressive rock type album was really cool to them.
That's cool, yeah.
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, those are stories that you don't ever hear about.
Yeah.
You always hear about the people who are like, oh, I was a Kiss fan when, Dressed to Kill and Alive came out, but then when the other came out, I hated it. It's like, okay, I get that. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But, I like to hear other people's stories too and get a more broad view of the album, especially us who are, removed from the album's initial release and reception. It's just fun to hear. So thank you to all of our regular viewers and our new viewers for commenting. And so if you want, please continue to leave more comments about The Elder. I'll continue to talk with you guys in the comments. I did want to mention this actually before getting into the Collector's Corner, and that was one more topic about The Elder, and that was the movie that never got made. And you're thinking, yeah, we know the movie from 81. No. I'm talking about the movie from 2011 that was called The Elder, or whatever it was, and it was by Seb Hunter. And he was going to be spearheading this film that gave us a live-action adaptation of The Elder.
Yeah.
And there was a trailer made. There was a poster made. I mean, I was in high school.
Yeah, I remember
literally shitting bricks going, oh, we are about to get it. Like, this is happening. It was, at the time, 30 years later. So it was like, we're about to get The Elder 30 years later in the way it should have been the whole time.
Yeah.
And there was talks about it. There was a website you could support. And there was all this, like, momentum, it seemed. And then nothing. Nothing. There was no word, no communication. I'm not even sure it was actually sanctioned by Kiss themselves.
Right. I wonder if it got shut down.
Maybe it did.
Yeah.
But it was just unfortunate because with a full-on poster, plot, and trailer shot, it was like, this is happening. This is cool. Maybe that was only done for a pitch. That was done to be like, hey, this is how serious we are. This is what it could look like.
It sounds like they had already put a decent amount of money into that.
There was work, money, and again, there was momentum behind it, and then it just died. And I'm like,
such a bummer.
Maybe in 2031, when it's the 50th anniversary, maybe Kiss Army Things, we will do our own live action.
Okay.
I have plans to do a lot.
Oh, wow.
I have plans to do a lot, and I'm thinking I might add The Elder short film onto our list for the next
right.
maybe we'll have it done by then.
Okay.
But this needs to happen. And I feel very strongly about it because
I
cannot tell you how excited and how let down I was when I heard about this movie coming out and then it not coming out. And it's always been in the back of my mind, like, with the right people, man, we could make this happen.
It would be so cool.
And Gina Paul want to say you can't use the music. I'm going to say la la la. Well, I wouldn't be there. It'd be Universal. I'm going to be la 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 la. We're going to court. Okay, I'll see you there. La 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 la. We'll do the whole premiere there, Like, I don't know. I'm just like, it's got to happen, though. I got to see it. Anyway, so, yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. Did you guys see that video, that trailer from, I think it's still on YouTube. You can check it out, The Elder by Seb Hunter. I'm going to go ahead and get into the Collector's Corner now. I don't have anything new to show. Nothing new to open, nothing new to show. Everything is just The Elder.
Wow.
It's just The Elder.
Nothing new, you guys. How weird.
Nothing new. No, sorry, only you, nothing new. So I do have a CD, which you've already seen, the remaster CD. This is not, was there a, as Rick would call, a high school version of The Elder? I don't know.
Surely.
Because The Elder wasn't released, or were there CDs back then? In 81, 82? Were they as known? I don't know. I don't think so. I think CDs were more like a mid to late 80s.
Yeah, I don't think they were
so who knows?
Widely produced yet.
But either way, yeah, we've already seen the CDs, so nothing too crazy there. Love the disc, though.
Yeah.
The black and yellow disc. That's our colors, black and yellow.
Yeah.
So that's really cool looking there. I also have a cassette, which I think is some of the worst design I've ever seen.
I love that you have it, though.
Yeah, you have. Well, I have to have it. I have at least one of every Kiss album on cassette. But yeah, look at that odd cover there. I mean, I know that the album cover is square. It was an LP first. But there had to have been some artistic way to just fill that out.
White block.
Just white block.
They didn't even...
With no Kiss logo.
I was going to say, I have a Kiss logo.
Dude, this is Polygram, right? Yeah, Polygram blew it.
Trash.
Polygram dropped the ball in more ways than 5. It was terrible. Polygram sucked. So there's the cassette. Yeah, no artwork of the door or anything.
Nothing.
It's just the cassette.
Yep.
So the cassette was definitely
a little lackluster.
A little lackluster there for sure. I'll put that there. And I'll bring out one of my records now. So this was the record that we showed last time.
Yes.
When we opened up the gatefold and all that. Somebody said that theirs didn't even have a gatefold.
Interesting.
They said there was just a single sleeve, and so it was even more underwhelming.
That's what I was going to say, more underwhelming.
Which I totally agree, because this might be one of the coolest parts about it.
It is, yeah.
Is, again, you get a little bit of imagery and you get some text to actually help immerse you into the story. Again, the back cover, which we're all pretty familiar with. Now, here's the thing, though. On the back cover is the intended track listing. Fanfare, Just a Boy, Odyssey, Only You, Under the Rose. But you and I listened to side one before this.
Yeah.
And the first song was what?
The Oath.
And number 2 was what? Fanfare.
Fanfare,
and then 3 was Just a Boy.
Yeah.
And then 4 was Dark Light.
Dark Light.
So it almost makes me wonder whether they rearranged the songs on the album just to make it feel like an album musically, but still gave you the storyline so that you kind of knew, which still makes no sense.
That's so silly.
Or if it was that late when the change was made.
That it was too late to change
here's the story, here's everything. Oh, you know what? This isn't going to work. We should change the song order on the album. Too late to do it here, but we'll do it there when we press in the album. It makes me wonder if this had already gone through. This was already greenlit, the original story intended track list.
Yeah, and these covers
were
already
printed. And then last minute when it's getting pressed to actual vinyl, it was like, no, we got to make it 86 and switch this and make the songs this and that and put the Oath here at first. And
that's
this
interesting.
Here. Makes me wonder because the back order is the original order.
Where did you get this album?
This album I bought at a Kiss Expo.
Okay.
Because...
You don't think there's any chance that it was, like, Frankensteined incorrectly? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think so.
It's in the wrong sleeve?
I don't think so. I mean, of course it is possible, and I know nothing about
but I mean,
Kiss
it is,
records.
You know, it's...
But the person on the sleeve wrote first pressing 81.
Yeah.
They even listed that it was a clear sleeve, and this is one of the things that makes me, like, love this version of the album, is the clear sleeve.
Yeah, that is cool.
How often do you see a clear sleeve? We have M. Schrader here. There is M. Schrader. Now, of course, we've already seen the vinyl, so I'm not going to open this one because we're already going a little too long here. I know we got things to do, so I'm going to kind of wrap this up real quickly. But there is my Japanese copy of The Elder.
Yeah, that's
which,
awesome.
If you notice, is the same 2 pictures of Gina Paul for my shirt.
Yeah, that's true.
So these are the photos.
Yeah, and it's the pink that
we got
somebody was talking about. Yeah.
And look at Ace. What's he shooting out of his hand?
I don't know, but it's cool.
It's awesome. And look, there you go. The lyric sheet, right?
Yeah.
Or I'm assuming it was the lyric sheet.
Yeah.
Of course, the Japanese get everything cool, but I think just by having a lyric sheet and by having images of the band would have made this much more Kiss, much more cool, much more involved.
Agreed.
There's a cool Obi there. Last thing is Kiss merch of the year. It's episode 118. It's time for 2018.
Yes.
And this is not The Elder, but it is from 2018, and it is the Kiss Automaton.
I love it.
I opened this on the show this year, I think, earlier this year. I'm pretty sure when I bought this, because I gave one away for Christmas.
I was going to say probably the beginning of the year, like January.
Earlier, because I gave it to our nephews for Christmas. He opened it and started playing it, and I regretted it because of how awesome it was.
Yeah, he was like, oh, I'm going to buy that one.
And I was like, yeah, I need one of those. So here's what it sounds like. This is a Japanese instrument. Speaking of Japan.
Yeah,
the automaton is a Japanese toy instrument. And they did ones with both the Star Child and the Demon. The Demon has a little bit of blood coming out of his mouth. But let me see if I can do this real quick. What's the I'm trying to do some of the Elder. I can't play the Elder.
Not quite.
I love this little thing. It's so cool. Oh, I turned it off. Okay, anyway, there you go. There is the Kiss Automaton. Thank you guys so much for joining us on episode 118 of the Kiss Army Things podcast. You guys rock. We'll see you next time for, like I said, a collector's conference.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the next episode. We will see you then. In any case, my name is Xander.
My name is Daphne.
Peace out. Rock on.